Welcome back, everybody, to the THM McFly movie podcast. My name is Kevin Lyons.
I'm Daniel de Sangre.
I'm Jose Ramos.
And last night, Game of Thrones Season 8, the whole series finale aired last night.
It was done.
Yeah, it was done. We're going to give you guys an in-depth review, spoilers too, after the music. But before the music, we're just going to give a quick non-spoiler thoughts on what we thought of episode Iron Thrones, the series finale of Game of Thrones. I got to say, I wasn't too happy with it. What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was so looking forward to the last season, but then as the season started playing out, I got more impatient than the showrunners trying to hurry up and wrap up the show. And I was just like, okay, I see where you guys are going with this. Let's just end this.
What about you, Jose?
There was parts that I liked, quite a few parts that I liked in scenes, but overall, I wasn't fully satisfied with the way it was executed to a certain amount. Even things that I was like, okay, I like that, but if you would have prepared me more for that, I would have liked it more.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think none of us had a problem with the fate of every character on the show. I think we all enjoyed where they all ended at the end of the series. We got that. It really was the execution and the pacing for me. Just for as a series finale, I did not enjoy the pacing of this show. I mean, of the final episode and throughout some of the season. I mean, this definitely needed more episodes.
It does, and that's the frustrating part is because HBO and George R. R. Martin both wanted like 10 seasons, right? The showrunners didn't, and they made a negotiation that ended after 8, but... And I know typically...
After 6. After the 8th season.
Yeah, after the 8th season. And it's frustrating because I know you don't normally want to change showrunners, but if you're not going to end it right, then just... I'd rather have them change showrunners.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this thing it's the most popular TV show ever made.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And everybody wants more, but it's because of these two shows. It's not even the creator of Game of Thrones. It's these two showrunners that are just like, no thanks. Like, we want to do it. We can do it in 6 episodes and not 10. And that's what I don't like about this. It felt rushed. And then as rushed as the season felt, this finale felt like it dragged in a lot. And then, like, the important part was just a quick rush. And it's just like, wow, that was so fast.
And that's the thing. Not saying that this is the case, but, you know, sometimes when people are working on the same project for an extended amount of time, and especially stuff that takes a lot of work, doesn't matter how successful it is, people can become complacent or they can want to do something else, do something new, kind of refresh, start new. And there's the possibility that's what happened with these showrunners, where they were just like, we've been doing this for so long, and I'm sure it's not an easy job with the popularity of this show, but they probably were ready to move on. And that's a situation where, okay, you know, then if they're ready to move on and go to something else, bring in someone where it's a fresh start for them.
Yeah.
And allows them to move on.
I hear you with the senioritis aspect of it, but I mean, at some point you got to have some professionalism when you're getting paid that much and you're in charge of an HBO series that everybody's love. You got to kick that senioritis to the side. I don't give a flying fuck.
Especially when you're closing it out. I mean, you got to give it its due justice, man. You got to close it out right.
Then everything you did for stood for nothing.
Yeah.
You know? But, I mean, there was a lot in this. You guys listening, there was a lot of stuff in this that we did actually like. That I mean, it was beautifully shot. There was some really cool images and moments in this that I really liked. But just overall, as a series finale, it was just kind of meh to me. But anyway, I think we should just jump right into the spoilers. What do you guys think? Huh?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
All right, let's hit the music. Okay, so the season finale opens up with just Tyrion just walking slow down the fucking city streets. And it's just on him and he's just walking. And this really set the tone for the whole episode because there was a lot of moments like that where it was just calmly walking, a character taking his time to get to somewhere, and we just followed along, and it just kind of felt like, when your professor in college, he's like, all right, your paper has to be 10 pages long, and you're on like 9.5 pages, and so you're just like really over describing things to push it as much as that's what I felt. Some of the the opening shot, no, but they did that a lot in the rest of the episode, because we got to see the result of when Dany turned and lit up the whole city, and Tyrion is just walking around looking at all the dead bodies, and he sees that when he sees that little kid, it was just like, oh fuck,
Yeah,
that was fucked
I
up.
will say that, and I thought it worked well in that opening scene, because you can really see the character absorbing the horror, the tragedy that she caused in this whole city, and him realizing I helped build a tyrant. I mean, this is
Even when the guy walked by him with his back was burnt off and he was just walking by him, and then you got to see Jon in the distance out of focus look at that guy's back too. It's just like, oh man, it was just crazy.
You know what the crazy part is? Like, Jon not only died and came back, not only did he fight all those whites, he's still looking at this guy saying, what the hell?
Yeah.
He was still horrified.
And it's that we got that from Tyrion, but we also got that from other characters. So Arya was experiencing the same thing, even though she was in it. Jon and Davos were right there with him, seeing it, and these were the characters that would have gone against her in this situation. They would not have agreed with her actions, and they're seeing the result. So it's them taking that in makes their decisions afterwards that much more important, because they're seeing it fully.
Yeah, and what happened to the White Horse, man? Like,
exactly.
They made such a big deal about it last week's episode.
And it's not even like she's in a completely different land. She is literally a couple of blocks away, and she's not even on the horse anymore.
You saw her right out of town, and she's still right there in town.
No, but she realized she left her wallet, so she had to go back in.
She left a couple of faces back there. She
was like, oh shit, wait for me here, horse.
Yeah. All right. I mean, it opened up pretty good. That was the first thing when we were just like, what the hell? There's nobody. Where's the horse?
Yeah.
That was the first time I was like, oh, okay.
But you see the contrast. So in the aftermath, you see all those characters going through and seeing the damage. But then you see the other end of the aftermath, which is Dany, and you see how she's looking at things, which is way different than what they're looking at it.
Yeah. It was cool seeing. I actually really enjoyed seeing Daenerys over, with the Unsullied, like taking the throne in front of not the throne, but when she was just presenting herself in front of what was left of the burnt city, how everything just felt black. They had the flag, that's the Targaryen flag hanging off the side of it. It almost felt like World War II-ish. It didn't it?
Very Hitler.
It felt like that. Very Hitler.
Yeah. But the cool thing though is that the way we introduce is you see Jon walking up the steps, and you see.
Wait! Before we get to that, I mean, like, it was so funny because we saw Jon. Here's another thing that I stuck out that I didn't like. When Jon met up with Grey Worm, right? When he walked on Grey Worm, who had all the soldiers.
It was before
and he was and they were all on their knees. They were prisoners, and then he starts killing them one by one. And he gets in his face. He's just like, "What are you gonna do about it?" It's like, "Let's go talk to the queen." And so Jon and Davos walked off to go find the queen, and then Grey Worm stayed there killing people, right? And then there's a couple of other scenes, and then it shows Jon's long walk to go confront Daenerys, and he walks up those stairs when we see all the Unsullied there. We see the flag we're talking about, and then Grey Worm's at the top of the stairs. Like, how the fuck did he get there? He just walked by him. He's pulling some fucking Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees bullshit.
There's
dude.
been two this whole time.
Yeah, where did that come from?
And he's been there. Like, you see Jon walking up, and he's probably like panting and sweating because he walked all those steps. And there's Grey Worm just sitting there, just chilling, just cruising.
How did he get there?
Oh, you didn't take the elevator? Yeah, that was faster.
But it did give us one of the coolest shots I've ever seen in the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
The dragon wings behind her, the mother dragon.
As cool as it was, you know what it made me think of at Universal City Walk with the big wings on the wall that every trendy girl goes and takes her picture in front of. Like, look at me, I'm trendy, I got wings. But that was so cool when that happened in the episode, because that's that makes sense. But anyway, yeah. So keep up. You were making a point about that when you said
Yeah, I just said it was just really cool visually. So that's when we see Jon Snow, confront or Daenerys then coming out and doing the whole Hitler speech that we're talking about.
It was great.
She did good with that, man. That speech,
yeah,
that speech when she was announcing to the
It
crowd.
felt so like Darth Vader, didn't she? She had the black on black with the, I mean, it was cool. I liked
And
it.
it was great, like seeing John's face during that whole time.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of looking with this expression of like, I don't know what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
I need to talk
'cause
to
she's
you.
speaking, yeah.
It's so funny. He's making that same face at everybody who voted for Trump after he got elected. He's like, "Oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have voted for this guy." You know?
But it's like he doesn't know that she basically threatened Winterfell in her speech.
Yeah.
Mhm.
At
From
all.
Winterfell all the way down to Dorne.
Yeah, she's
the whole
gonna
world.
spread her freedom.
Yeah. And what's fun, that's why even Tyrion later is like, you don't need to really know what she was saying. You could see it. You can see her emotions. Like you see it.
Yeah, he was like, does she look like a woman who's ready to stop, a war, ready to stop fighting?
Especially the Dothraki, man. They're not going to be sitting there cheering on aggressively to like diplomatic things.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
We're gonna be nice and peace everywhere. The Dothraki
Yeah.
would just be like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, but hell no. Like, yes, they want blood.
Here, even before we got to this part, it was one of my favorite scenes of the episode. And this is after seeing the aftermath. Tyrion goes off on his own because he's thinking, did Jaime and Cersei get out? Because he had sent them. So he travels all the way down to where they were supposed to escape.
Oh yeah.
And he finds the bodies. And just to see the emotion in him, like it was such a well acted scene.
Yeah.
In that, and just his pain for Jaime. I mean, I doubt that was for Cersei, even though it is family, so I'm sure it affected him a certain way because he has still tried to protect her to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But Jaime hurt.
It did. And you always got the sense that Cersei hated Tyrion more than Tyrion hated her. I don't know if he really hated her like that. Like she really hated him. I never got the sense that he really hated her like that.
Yeah.
Obviously they had their issues and whatnot, but
You think there was a certain level of guilt because he sent Jaime in there. Jaime would have been safe as a prisoner, at least for the short term.
yeah, and she was doomed regardless. The brother basically sent him to his death.
Yeah.
It was pretty cliche how he found him though, with Jaime's hand sticking out of the rubble, his metal hand, his metal rubble.
Like that's one like a metal detector. There it is.
It's just like you've seen that in so many movies and stuff where somebody's been underneath all the rubble and you see like the hand come out. That's I don't know. But,
I
I
did-
mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's just
Yeah.
funny.
I did like their body postures though, because it looked like his head was like on her chest and everything, and they kind of died.
Dude,
like,
they were in
lovers
pretty good
embrace.
shape for being crushed by a castle. Like there was like a couple of
face.
scratches on her face.
But it made me think. I'm like, couldn't they just move like 10 feet away? There was no rubble 10 feet away from them.
Exactly. Oh well.
There really wasn't, especially like that wall, like the entrance that got blocked. You could see the sun behind it. Like they really only had to move like two rocks.
Tyrion moved other rocks to
Yeah.
get to them.
Yeah.
Little Tyrion climbed up and were rocks. Both of them couldn't do it.
It should have been like a whole like a sea of rocks.
Yeah.
Almost that he was walking over, and you would have really seen how much.
Well
it
then,
crumbled.
it would have taken him fucking forever to find him too. And it's just
True,
like, well, what's
but-
the point of him going to go see? Because I guess they needed his moment to see that they have died. Because we saw it as an audience. And if Tyrion had seen that, you wouldn't have need that part in the episode. But that was an awesome job for Tyrion. The acting scene was really good.
Oh yeah, no, the scene was how he did it, the pain he portrayed. That was well done.
I think he's definitely winning another Emmy for this.
And it was
great job.
Yeah, it was after this, and then he went walking up and he saw Dany giving her fucking Hitler speech, which was it was kind of scary just watching her do that, and it's just like, oh yeah, here's the start of it. It's here. This is fucking creepy.
And then she calmly tells
Yeah.
him, "You committed treason."
Yeah.
While she's still looking at the
Yeah.
crowd, it's like,
Yeah.
"You committed treason," and he's just like, "Fuck you, I retired."
Yeah,
Exactly.
that was
Resign.
cool.
That was
Sneaking up behind her with his little Chucky feet.
Because it was funny because it's like what John, I think it was John was saying like, no, don't do it, don't go.
Yeah.
And he just still went up, and
Yeah.
like the balls he showed to stand up to the woman that just burned this entire city, has a whole army there, and when she accuses him of treason, he goes right back at her. He's like, you killed a bunch of, innocent people. So it's like, who's worse?
Yeah, that's right. If you took all the people my family has killed, it wouldn't even be half of what she did in one day. In one day. That was fucking crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's the great thing is that with every great monarch, right? Like tyrant, in their own eyes, they're their own hero. They're trying to make a better world.
Yeah, they're the hero in their own story.
Yeah, and they did that very, very well with Daenerys.
And what I took from this and from this scene and seeing how she reacted to Tyrion is a lot of people were like, oh, she went mad. She was the mad queen after the last episode. But I didn't feel that she went mad. I feel what she did was calculated. She just went ruthless because that's how she felt she had to win the war. It wasn't, she didn't go crazy. And in here you see it through her speech. She knew exactly what she was doing, why she was doing it. She didn't seem crazed. And then with even though Tyrion betrayed her by letting Jaime go out, and he stepped up to her in front of everyone and threw his piece down, she still had him imprisoned. She didn't have him killed right there. If she would have really been crazy, we'd like take him out right now.
Well, I think that's because she got her fill of crazy the day before when she killed innocent children and people.
But again, I think it was ruthless, not crazy. She knew what she was doing.
And then just to go with what you're saying is she didn't scream out, treason or anything to him. She whispered it to him. And then they took her away. She didn't announce it to the crowd and do all like somebody crazy would have proclamated this great gesture of what I'm doing for everybody. It wasn't like that.
Yeah, and she imprisoned him, and it shows that she still had a fondness of him. She wasn't gonna kill him. She still remembered what he has done for her. And she still had a fondness, was just like, I can't let you go, but I'm not gonna kill you.
Yeah, she didn't disgrace his name in front of everybody. She's just go away. We'll deal with you later.
Yeah. And then after that, she went up to the throne, right? No, Jon had the meeting with Tyrion in jail.
Yeah. Yes. He did have the first interaction with Daenerys. Remember? And she gives him the cold look and walks away.
Yeah,
then Arya
she walked off.
Sneaks up like a ninja, pops up right next to him as they see the slow walk away. And I kept thinking, is she going to look back? She did not look back at him. She did not look back at him.
Damn. Yeah, she was mad. She was so mad. After that, after giving a speech like that, you can't look back at the dude. You just go.
Can't look back at it.
Yeah, and so basically, I mean, Tyrion's talking to Jon, and he's just saying, hey, listen, stop being full of shit. Look what she's doing. You have to make a choice now. Like, what are you going to do? Because otherwise, you're going to end up being here too. Didn't he say that?
Well, basically, he was saying, it was like, you're a threat. She just did this to all these people. So you need to wake up before not only you're dead, but your family is dead.
Yeah.
Because when he was just saying Jon didn't really care. What made him stop, he was like,
your sisters.
What about when your sisters don't agree with her?
Yeah.
And
because she had mentioned Winterfell in her speech and shit.
And even when we had the scene, what was it, episode 2, I think? Episode 2, because it was before the Winterfell fight, but you saw the scene between Daenerys and Sansa mentioned about the North going independent.
Yeah.
And Daenerys, you could tell by her look, they didn't finish that conversation. That was when they were getting interrupted.
That's when she took her hand off, right?
That's when she took the hand off. It was like she wasn't going to entertain that at all. So, and that's what Tyrion meant. Like, would your sister bend the knee? Well, we have to, da-da-da. Do you really think they're going to do that? That's what Jon realized. No, they're not.
And I think it was before she actually went to speak with her, when she wasn't approving of the way Sansa was interacting with her. Yep. There was that moment at Winterfell where she was talking to Jon, and it appeared she was about to threaten, like, she's got to remember who I am, like I am the queen. But that's when they got interrupted again.
Yep.
But there you were seeing a little bit of there where even before she talked to her, it looked like she was going to threaten her, like she better get in her place.
Yeah. It was good, man. You know what's funny about this show is Jon and Daenerys. Like, I like the character relationship, right? The actors themselves, they had pretty decent chemistry, but it wasn't the best.
Yeah.
Sansa and Daenerys, they were so good together. Those actresses had amazing chemistry on camera.
They did.
I wanted to see more.
I think
of
a
that.
lot of it had to do too with the tension that was built between them. I think that really helped with their chemistry because it's almost like, you know, when you see two girls who hate each other, they try to talk nice to each other and they're trying to. I mean, you could feel that in the room. Every guy just saw his girlfriend talking to his sister in that scene,
and that's what the women say, like, "Oh yeah, you know, she's speaking bitch." Where it's like you're being nice, but there's bitch behind it. The whole second language. It's
pretty much. But anyway, so where are we at now? Now,
so then he goes. This is where he goes to. Well, we see Dany in the throne room, and she finally gets to touch it.
Yeah.
And then like,
which was incredibly phallic, by the way. The one part of the throne she touched did look like a dick just sticking out, and she just like touched. She's like, oh.
But it's like then right before she sits down, then he makes it in, and then I like this scene overall. But the first part, I was like, I don't know about that. So, like, when he went to go see Tyrion, the Unsullied guards, they made sure they took his weapons off of him. Yeah. This is to see a prisoner in there who he's cool with.
Yeah.
But when he goes to see their queen, who they know Jon hasn't been fully on board with everything, they let him go in with his sword.
Yeah.
They don't take it away from him. So it seemed a little weird that they will take it in one situation and not take it in another when it's their queen on the line.
And there was no Unsullied up there. Like
she had the dragon. That's all she needed.
Yeah, but there's multiple ways inside that room. I mean, it just seems like she would have had just guards or something in the room or something. I don't know. Just realistically, she would have had something there.
That wasn't something that I thought about that she would. I mean, like I just saw the dragon wake up in the snow, like every dog that took a nap outside the snowstorm, and then just like gave him the little sniff and he went on. I felt like that was all we needed. I mean, if they made an effort to take swords away from anybody visiting Tyrion, especially Jon Snow, like I can see where you would be like, well, why didn't they take it away when we went to go see Dany? But she didn't have anybody else blocking her. She just had the dragon. And maybe, who knows, maybe in that rubble there was only one way to get there, and it was through the dragon. So she probably, like you saw the dragon let him go. So if anybody else there who had weapons that she didn't approve of would have just torched him without saying anything.
That's true. But to go back with her touching the throne, it goes exactly with what her premonition was. Back in season 2, I think it was, where remember in her dream she touches the throne, doesn't sit on
falling
it,
and all of that.
And then she walks outside, and that's when she sees Khal Drogo and the baby, you know, her baby. So it kind of goes with that because Jon Snow comes, does it in his afterlife.
So, all right, so she's having her little moment right there on the throne, and she goes to meet Jon, and they're kind of having the powwow. He's finally stepping up to her. He's like, what are you doing, you know?
Yeah.
And
innocent children.
Yeah, innocent children. She's like, and I guess, what was she saying? So there's some points that I kind of, okay, I could see where she was coming from, but it's still like, no. She's basically starting everything over. She wants to burn the world and just make it grown free of any type of tyrant.
She was, in her mind, she was going towards creating a paradise, freeing everyone of the shackles of the way they're ruled at this moment and creating a free world. Yeah. So, great ambition. Poor execution.
Well, if you actually do think about it, that's exactly what she did. Because of the way that the finale ended up, she really did do that. I mean, like, look, her actions made them like, we can make sure nobody like that could ever rule again.
Yeah, and that's one thing to keep in mind, because when she was on Essos, like over that side, freeing the slaves, they proclaimed their loyalty to her, right? Coming over here to King's Landing, they're all already free, so there's really no loyalty to her. There's no reason why they should support her, especially when they flipped on Cersei so quick. They would do the same with Daenerys if somebody else stronger came by. But the only way to do that is to find something, which is fear in this case. So I see what she's saying. It's just such an aggressive way to get that. But.
Yeah. And then, Jon, he's being Jon, still trying to the very last second to have her see reason. But to her, she sees reason, and that's where the impasse happens. Where he has what he thinks is right, and then she thinks she's right in there, and then it's the line that makes Jon finally realize that there is no going back, that they're not going to find middle ground, is when he explains to her, well, what if you run into other people who think they're right? And she says, they won't have a choice.
Yeah, and that tells you, like, the whole agree to disagree thing, and Daenerys like, no,
Yeah.
we're not gonna agree to disagree. Like, you're gonna listen to what I say, or you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, remember when she was giving her speech, or it's from Winterfell to Dorne. It's like if Sansa wasn't gonna bend the knee, she was gonna either force her to do it or possibly kill her. Mm-hmm. And I think it's Jon realizing that, like, I can't protect my own family. Like,
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
And then he fucking killed her.
Stabbed it.
Kissed her, and stabbed her through the heart.
Yeah, that was, I mean, man, that is a dramatic way to go. I gotta hand it to them for that. That was like, they didn't need a big battle for that. That was just a character moment of Jon doing it. And I actually liked that scene a lot.
I loved it.
I liked a lot of this
Great.
stuff up until this point. Like, up until after this point is when shit started getting shitty.
Yeah, up to this point, I was fully on board, and I have to give it to Emilia Clarke. She has killed it throughout the series, and this season, she's like brought it to a whole other level as she's made this turn in there. And then here, she says no words after she gets stabbed, but you see through her acting the betrayal and the hurt in her as she's dying. And then in Jon Snow, you see the pain of what he had to do and the regret, immediate regret.
And that's the great thing, is because with Daenerys, her only weakness was love. That was it. And she opened herself up, allowed him in. And that's the one thing that she was vulnerable, because if it was anybody else, she wouldn't have gotten close to them like that. She wouldn't have put herself physically in a position to be able to get stabbed like that. She had a freaking dragon that was going to let anybody in but him. Mm-hmm. That's literally what it took to kill her.
That's right.
That's crazy. So when you see that, but then at the very, very end, when you see her dying, you don't really necessarily see pain. There's almost like a sense of relief.
Well, of course you saw pain.
In
She
her
was
eyes?
bleeding through her nose and her.
No, I'm saying towards the end, you don't see pain.
I know.
I mean, yeah, you see the relief almost, and it's like at that instance, is she seeing Khal Drogo? She's seeing the baby in her head. She going to this afterlife, which was a topic that they mentioned, in the episode that Tyrion said.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting, but the blade never caught on fire, right? So he wasn't the light bringer.
Yeah.
And then after that, fucking her dragon comes up and sees that she's dead. He has that little nudger to see her.
The Lion King
The
moment.
Bambi
Yes.
moment. Yeah, are you alive? She's dead. No.
Yeah.
No. And he just started it's so funny because Jon saw the dragon getting pissed off, and he saw the dragon about to like fucking throw fire, and you saw in Jon's face that he was just, I'm ready to take it. Oh god, he's gonna kill me. Oh, okay, you're gonna die. Then he didn't die. He's like, shit, I didn't die.
He's ready for death.
And that was the thing, because he was in such agony over what he had to do that he was willing to go.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have accepted at that moment because of what he did. But yeah, that was some good acting by this CGI dragon. Like
That was amazing, actually, because you saw it. It's like it wanted to kill him and burn him alive, but then it didn't because it was Targaryen.
in the
They
turn
couldn't
at
do
the
it.
last second, it's like when you see people are really upset at someone, they want to punch them, and they're just like, hit the wall.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
And he just melted that throne, dude. That was really cool.
Which shows like the dragon's understanding, like this is all about that.
Yeah. Now, here's a question I want to ask you, because I heard that in another review, is Drogon burning the throne. Do you think that was Drogon mentally understanding that he burned the thing that she wanted, or did it just spew and it just happened to hit the throne and melt it?
No, I think because the first one just spewed. He didn't hit the throne with the first blast. And then he went again, and he was directly hitting the throne. So I think there was purpose to that.
Yeah, I think he was like, again, he wasn't hitting it right away. I remember seeing it. I'm like, what is he trying to hit? Because it looks like he was gonna try and hit the throne, but he wasn't. He was hitting the walls, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just blind rage. He didn't exactly see it, and then when he knocked the walls down, that was the only thing that was left there, and then he saw it, and then he just melted it down. I mean, it just makes sense for the series because it was such an iconic image that really represented what the series was, and I could see that he melted that on purpose because he knew that's.
I love that they melted it, man. Because,
was really
at the
cool.
end of the day, it looked very uncomfortable to sit on. It was a bunch of swords.
She can't count to 20.
She can't count.
She
this-
couldn't count all the.
No.
That was not 1,000 swords. She could not count to 20, and they made sure that they told us multiple times.
Yes.
She was a girl who didn't know how to count at one point.
And that was even one of her last words too, was not being able to count again. So we get it. We can count on. We can count on you dying now.
I think it'd be so funny if like her death was actually only like 19 seconds. She just couldn't get
Never
to.
count
She
20.
couldn't get to 20. She
That's
couldn't
funny.
get to 20.
It might have been. Who knows?
Maybe it was 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it was good how, he burns the throne and then he takes her away. Like he took his mom, and I feel, in the end, if Dany had to go, this was a good way for her to go. She won the war.
Yeah.
She won the war. She got to at least touch the throne. If someone was gonna kill her, at least it was someone that she loves in there, and she leaves with the dragon.
How else would Daenerys have wanted to die? Right, like that was the best way for her to die. And I love that Drogon took her, because it's almost like, you guys don't deserve her body. I'm gonna go take her somewhere else, somewhere holy, and just took her. And I thought that was great.
Yeah. That's when we're like, there's a lot of time left in this episode, and that felt like the climax. What else could they do?
It was interesting because everybody kept talking about how they were going to do like a time forward, right? But it was like, how are they going to do it? It's going to be so cheesy. It's going to be like, Sam writing, and all of a sudden we pull back and it's like, 3 months later. I thought they did a pretty decent job with it. You see Tyrion in prison. When he comes out, all of a sudden his beard's more scraggly, and through their dialogue, you're realizing weeks went by. And it was like, I kind of like that. I thought they did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, what I found odd about this scene is, what was the original purpose that they brought him out for? Like, did they bring him to...
Sansa requested him and Jon together.
Yes, to free them.
But they never address what the original purpose of him coming out, because then they go straight into, tell us what our government should be.
Well, Grey Worm knew it was to be released, but he says, we're not giving you Jon. We're only giving you Tyrion. So it could have just been one of those things where it sounds a lot like they've obviously had negotiations, and this is what they settled on, but they didn't know they weren't getting Jon until right there.
Yeah, but I think what he's trying to figure out is, they didn't say why they wanted Jon, like why they wanted both of them there at that meeting. It wasn't to be released.
Free them. Yeah,
No, it was.
We don't know, because they didn't say it. They didn't
Well,
say
no,
it.
we
he's
know.
our
It was trying to
prisoner.
figure out how the rest of the world's going to be run, and of course he's a Targaryen, and everybody wants him to run, and Sansa knows that he is the true heir to the throne. They obviously want them there, and just to be part of that.
This was one of the parts where it really became a glaring issue of them rushing because of the 6 episodes in there.
Yeah.
Because you miss some stuff with the time jump that should have been explained. One, and this is one of my big problems with this episode, is how did Jon make it out of there alive? So this place is unsullied, Dothraki in there. He kills their queen, the one who freed a majority, pretty much all of the Unsullied, but the majority, because the Dothraki were already free.
Yeah, sure.
Just took over, and then Jon kills her in cold blood. He's gonna have to make it through all of them. They must have known something was going on with the dragon spewing fire and then flying away with her. Like,
they would have responded immediately.
it is. And Grey Worm, the way where his mindset was after losing Miss Sunday, and he was killing all these soldiers, even though it was under orders, but he was doing it. I feel his first reaction seeing Jon there, or the Unsullied, would have been to kill Jon.
Especially the Dothraki. They would not have listened to Grey Worm, even if he tried to stop them, which he wouldn't have. But
because you could say, okay, the North and Sansa, they were like, if you kill Jon, we go to war. But I'm talking about that initial reaction when they first catch Jon. I don't think they would have taken him prisoner in there.
I think they would have, because they don't know where Dany was. Because remember, he said, even if he said, I killed her, the dragon took off with her, so nobody knows where he was. So they wouldn't have killed him until they at least found her body, and then they probably would have killed him.
I think they would have. I think they would have reacted, especially the Dothraki in there, or Grey Worm. After losing Miss Sunday and how he's reacted to that, losing his queen.
From their dialogue, it seemed like Jon Snow was the one that just came clean and said, I killed her, because they all knew that Jon killed her. So I'm assuming he admitted it right there. But even if they didn't, it's just sort of like expecting us to fill in the gaps too much. And that's just like a lot of assumptions.
This is where it suffered from the rush of a
Mm-hmm.
shortened season is they should have explained that.
Mm-hmm.
Also how, because a lot of these places in Westeros, they've been in conflict with each other. How they got to the point that they were all peacefully like together having this council. It was just like, oh, hey, look, they're all cool.
And it was only a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, it was a few weeks. So everyone came together. So it was like all of Westeros and then the Unsullied on the other end. So these are things that could have been explained and would have worked better if they had more time.
I agree. And that it kind of goes back with last episode. Remember how Varys sent out those notes? We know he sent out some of those, right? The one that he burned wasn't the one and only note. He wrote several ones. So I'm assuming it's each of these council people that he did. But remember how we took off the rings and it was to be like symbolic, and him sending out those notes did nothing because it doesn't matter if they knew who Jon Snow was. It literally didn't make a difference.
Yeah, it didn't.
So it was completely pointless, even until the end of the episode. It was like, I still don't know. Varys died for nothing.
Yeah.
Really? He died for nothing.
Oh, a lot of people died for nothing.
Yeah.
I think that it has to go with them setting up things and then filming it before they realized that that's not what the road they wanted to go down.
Yeah.
I think that's why they had all those things up. But still, I mean, it just comes off as lazy. It's just like, why did you spend so much time on this fucking putting this in our minds, and then it's nowhere? It made no sense. Like, even, I mean, you could even argue about Jon Snow being Targaryen. It's just like, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And all it did was just give a little beef between him and Dany, and that was it. There was no, I mean, I'm glad that he went up north at the end. I think that's cool. But why the fuck do they have a Night's Watch? Who are they night watching?
Yeah. I think even Jon Snow said it. They still have a night watch.
Yeah,
Like,
there's still a Night Watch?
What I compare it to is the equivalent of being in school, taking a test, and you're taking your time, you're making sure everything's right, and then they tell you you've got 5 minutes left. So then now it's like, shit, I got to do as much as possible. So you skip a few things. This like, oh, this seems a little hard to complete. I'm going to go to the easy questions.
Yeah.
And this is what this seemed like.
and on those questions that say, show your work, what do we say? Not today.
Yeah.
You just write an answer.
It was like that meme you sent earlier. There was this intricate maze, and you see this line following the intricate maze, like season 1, season 2, season 3, all the way to season 7. Then it gets to season 8, and it just crashed through all the walls, and it just goes right to the end. It's just like, oh man.
It did. I did love the scene with Sansa and her uncle. Remember that he gets up and she's like, "Uncle, sit down," and he's there trying to bumble his way through, and then she just gives him the look, and he's like,
Because he was.
She
gonna
sat him
declare
down with
himself.
her eyes. She just her eyes and just like looked at the sea. It's like, oh shit.
he's like, I survived 2 wars. It's like, A, no, you didn't. You were a prisoner in one of them. And second of all, where the hell have you been for the last 2 wars?
Yeah, he was going to try to declare himself as king. But then part of like this rush thing, it comes to one of the most controversial parts of this episode. So they listen to the prisoner, even the Unsullied, who have him as prisoner, Grey Worm, listens to the prisoner and decide on Bran being the new king of the kingdoms, which he might make a good king. I understand the fact that he's not strapped by emotions, so his decisions are going to be more robotic and calculated, which could be good and could be bad on that.
That's what I think. Yeah, keep going.
It could be good and could be bad. So I understand why he can make a good king.
Because he can't be bribed.
But the problem is because everything has been so rushed for a while now, even parts of last season, they didn't set that up enough,
At all.
Most of the times we've seen him is like, you question, what is he doing? And all of that. And that's the problem. Like, I feel if they would have had more episodes to set up more, hinting more towards that, the payoff of Bran being the king would have been more accepted.
And the ironic part is that I think it was earlier this season, Tyrion had a conversation with Bran and actually mentioned, you're going to be, the king of Winterfell.
the Lord.
Of Winterfell. And he says, I don't want to, I don't want anything. Like, I'm nothing this. I don't want any of that. Of course, king, all of a sudden you want that. But they even hinted at it to us and they shot it down, which tells us That's never going to happen to Bran. So when this happened, it's like you just contradicted what you just said earlier this season. That's why it feels like that it came out of nowhere. That would have been a great moment of the show to give us a hint.
Here's the
of
thing:
something.
if they were gonna make him king, they should have given him some king qualities throughout the show. I mean, like, of course he's gonna be strange and cryptic, but he was too weird. He was so weird. It's like, I don't want this guy in charge. Like, that's why we felt like that. I mean, like, if he's gonna be, I mean, of course he's smart and he knows his shit, but let's give him a little bit of charm at some point in his weirdness, you know? But
or at least throughout the season a little bit more of his master plan, because it does look like it was a master plan. Like he set all of this in motion, causing, from revealing the information, that leading to Dany becoming paranoid. So pretty much it was like a domino effect, which was put in motion by him. But even if it was revealing a little bit more of that grand plan throughout, like see him do things here and there, we're hinting like, hey, what is he doing, what is he planning at?
Especially if he knows the future, it seems very unfair to make him king, because it's sort of like making Superman president. Like you can't, if you put somebody that powerful in the lead and he knows all the future stuff, then all of our futures are now dictated and we don't even have control of our future, because this person is making sure what's supposed to happen, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It almost takes away free will.
Yeah.
You're now just following this book, and it's just, I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was my main problem with that decision of Bran, is just how we got there. There wasn't enough to get there that they showed us, because they've been rushing through everything.
I mean, I like everything that they left with us. I like that Jon he was banished to the Night Watch again, but then you see him leaving with the Wild People, going up into the north and basically being their king now, being like the true king. And that was something that people keep on saying a lot, was the true king of the north. You think that's what that meant?
Well, because they're saying Tormund has said that that is the true North, because it is North for what they consider North.
Yeah.
It's Canada.
So basically, Jon is going to go up north, and he's going to be their leader. Sansa declared Winterfell is her own fucking goddamn kingdom, basically.
She seceded.
Yeah,
That was cool.
and then she's in charge of that, and that's awesome. And Arya, she decides to go out west and explore what's past Westeros. What else is there? She's basically Christopher Columbus, Magellan.
She said in an earlier season, remember when she was with that actress, I don't remember the character's name, but the actress asked her, what would you ever want to do? And she goes, I want to see what's west of Westeros. No one's ever seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she said it. So they set that up.
I'm fine with that. And who else? What else?
Sam.
Tyrion is now basically doing exactly what he wants. Well, he says he doesn't want to do that, but he's always been that. He always wants to be the hand of the king.
The thing about Tyrion, I love Tyrion, and Tyrion was my favorite character of the whole show. Okay, but it's annoying because there's no repercussions for his failures. It just seems like every time he's in prison, he gets let out again, and he becomes a hand of the king. Like, he just seems to keep getting promoted.
Well, Bran said that he was gonna make sure that you're gonna spend the rest of your life paying for fixing those mistakes.
But you know what I mean? It's like he did these things, and he's still in the same position.
I mean, I feel that there was some indirect consequences to his failures. For failing Dany with a lot of his plans, help lead to the murdering of his entire city that he grew up in, the killing of his mom, because she lost trust in him. Yeah. So that was an indirect consequence of what happened. But yeah, like Kevin said, he has more to fix going forward.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, I'm making you my hand because you have a lot of shit that you have to fix, and you have to, that's your service now.
And that's what won over Grey Worm. You could tell, because he's like, no. And when he said that, it was like, okay, I could see that.
And the reason why they had to keep Jon in prison was because it was going to piss off Grey Worm and the Unsullied. But weren't they moving away to the furthest place possible?
Yeah, to a country that we've never even heard of.
Dude, what the fuck? As soon as it's like, he's gonna be in prison. We're gonna be right in that cell the whole time. As soon as he's gone, it's like, all right, Johnny's good. All right, good. Yeah. Where do you want to go? Wherever you want to go.
Here's our king.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of and against that is that the Ironborn might snitch them out.
what?
because she was on the side of Dany
Yeah,
and
that's
Grey
right.
Worm, and they're still there. She might have snitched them out. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's true, but like once they leave, I mean, the Unsullied was down to what 4,000 at most, like soldiers. It's more of like the Dothraki because they're so big. But you figure once Daenerys is gone, the Dothraki shouldn't really be that loyal to Grey Worm and the Unsullied. I mean, they're not that military people. They would have just done their own thing eventually. They would have disbanded.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they've been battling together for so
they
so
just
long,
merged,
and Danny's
basically.
last words, their queen's last words, is that he's in charge of them.
True, but remember in Dothraki culture, once one of their king dies, they go find another one. They don't continue honoring them beyond death. They just find the next one that's like the alpha.
Yeah,
That's technically what would have happened.
Maybe it's Grey Worm.
Maybe
now,
it's Grey Worm,
because
that's
there
what I was
is
gonna say, yeah.
besides Jon, there's no more Targaryens.
True, but the only reason why they
Yeah.
followed Daenerys was because she married Drogo and they
Yeah.
proved all that stuff. So she married into the Dothraki. But that's such a small
Yeah.
issue compared to everything else.
You know what's funny too? With our Game of Thrones reactions, the ones that we did for last night. If you guys are listening, you guys go to our YouTube channel. You can see that we did a bunch of Game of Thrones reactions for the last 2 seasons. And when people were seeing our reactions of last night and like getting upset with the way that I don't think we really communicated why we didn't necessarily appreciate what was happening. Just like they thought they were getting mad at us and saying, "Oh, you guys just wanted a happy ending. I bet you guys think that everything should have a happy ending. Like this was not a happy ending." I'm like, this was a happy fucking ending. I don't know what you're talking
The
about.
Starks
first
are
of all.
ruling.
This is
so
as
much
happy
of
as
Westeros.
Game of Thrones
Yeah.
can get.
Yeah, I mean, literally one person died in this. In the finale,
And she was the
just-
tyrant.
Yeah, it was the tyrant, and like it was really fast. It just took about a couple seconds, and then she was dead, and then the dragon got pissed and left, and then everybody was happy pretty much, and it was just so weird. It's just like why it felt like it was the Twilight Zone. I'm like people were getting mad at us because they thought that we wanted a happy ending and we didn't get it, but that's exactly what this ending was.
And one thing to keep in mind with these reactions is just it's our raw emotions. So
Yeah.
you're watching something, other people, it's easy to get angry. Well, they did it. It's like, yeah, because you've had time to process it. We're literally just recording as we're watching this for the first time. So when we see Bran getting it, our natural reaction is like, wait, who? Like, why is it him? So of course we're questioning it. And then it's like they want us to already have thought of all this through. It's like, this is the very first time I'm watching the episode. I'm trying to process this out loud.
yeah.
Which is one of the reasons we don't do the podcast like immediately after
Yeah.
like we do these things, because we talk about it, we discuss it, we kind of digest everything, and sometimes some of those problems we resolve ourselves within our own thoughts. It's like, okay, that wasn't that much of a problem, and sometimes we pick up things that we didn't pick up during our reaction.
Big time,
This is
yeah.
the type of show that you dissect over and over and over again, and your opinion on certain parts can switch back and forth depending on what you come up with.
Exactly.
Especially like for me, it was like last episode when I first watched it, I was like, man, I didn't like that. I'm sorry, episode 5. I saw it and I didn't really like it. Then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, you know what? It was a lot better when I reviewed it the second time and so on.
And that's also people yelling at us, well, stop talking while you're watching it, and you maybe wouldn't have to watch it a second time to understand everything that's happening.
Yeah, it's like, no, I didn't watch anything that's
Yeah.
well written. Like, you have to see it a bunch of times, but yeah.
It doesn't matter. But anyway, before we wrap this up, what's the spinoff going to be? What spinoff do you want to see?
George R. R. Martin's is calling it The Long Night, but I don't know what that means.
That's the prequel one, right?
Yeah, it's the prequel, and it's the one that's starring Naomi Watts. We just don't know anything about it yet.
But what do you want to see after everything? Which one do you want to see the journey of? What's your side story?
Oh, if they did spin-offs of our main characters?
Yeah.
I think Arya would have been amazing.
Arya
Westeros,
exploring.
it's brand new.
Yeah,
What's over there?
because you have to break brand new ground, and you're not.
You can show new monsters. You
Yeah.
can show all these different things. We have no idea what's over there.
because we don't know. With magic existing in this world and magical creatures, you can do pretty much anything over
Yeah.
there.
That'd be really cool. I would get really bored with Sansa up in Winterfell. Just the
Yeah.
same old bullshit.
Westeros already, you're not going to top the threat of the Night King and the
Yeah.
Walkers in Westeros, Cersei, and then Dany with her dragons. So Westeros is pretty much like topped out. They peaked.
It kind of did, and even like Tormund's awesome. He's funny, and with him and Jon Snow. But it's like Jon Snow, I've seen 8 seasons, and he barely evolved. Just in terms of just he. It goes back to Ygritte telling him, you know nothing. It's like, and then that's why at the end I'm like, they literally told us. Even at the end, we're like, dude, you're an idiot. Wise up. It's like they told us in the beginning, you know nothing, and that's what's frustrating is that he never evolved beyond that. I mean. Yeah, he killed her, but he was still an idiot. Like, it's just until the end. He had to be convinced by Arya. He had to be convinced by Tyrion, even by Dany herself. Finally,
and thousands of burnt bodies. It took all of that to be like, okay, maybe she's got to go.
Yeah, and episode 5, when he saw all the burning and he saw that and you saw the emotions in his face, I thought he knew right away in episode 6, I know what I need to do, and no, he still needed convincing. So I don't want to see a spin-off show of that.
Which is good. Which is the reason that he would not have made a great king is because of that weakness that he has there. He makes a good leader in a time of war when it comes to going to battle, but king and dealing with the day-to-day and all that stuff decisions, he's too naive for that world.
Yeah, he did, and it was annoying that they kept telling us that he was this great king, and he was good with all that stuff, but we just never saw the rest of it translate. Like, it was just all hype, So even in the end, when he doesn't get it, it's like, then why did you keep selling us on this? And then somebody like Bran, who you kept telling us was disconnected and didn't want any of it, all of a sudden wants it now, like, which has another thing, right? So Jose and I talked about this, is that if you view Bran as like a Kaiser Sosek, right? Like the whole time.
Say that again?
Like if he knew he was going to be king, which is what he said, right? That's why all these things happened. He planted all these things. He knew Daenerys was going to blow up this city and do all these evil things. He knew, I guess he became Third-Eyed Raven after Robert, died. But you just see, though, that he set up all this tragic to happen for him to become king. Then the only reason why it was important that Jon Snow was a Targaryen was just to create conflict between Daenerys and Jon. Yeah. To the point where then she became insecure about his position, so she felt the need to have to use fear to burn all these people, which only goes back to Bran wiggling his little ass in there so he can get king, because it created division between them. And if that's the only way to view it, then that's the only reason why it was important that he was a Targaryen.
Yeah, if you view him as a mastermind villain, pretty much.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Mr. Glass in a way, where he was willing to sacrifice all these peoples and set all these things in motion to get his final result, regardless of the reasoning. If you view it that way, I mean, there still wasn't enough there, but it actually makes him like the ultimate bad guy in this, because he did the motions, put the seeds in there to make Dany end up where she ended up. In there, he helped to get rid of the Night King with Arya. He planted, giving her the dagger, doing the positioning, knowing the future. He did it all so he can get the crown.
The crown. And then he starts cracking jokes. All of a sudden, he's lighthearted. And then at the end, when he says, where's Drogon? Like, leave that up to me. I'll find out. It's like, are you going to now get a dragon behind you? Like, are you going to warg into a dragon? Yeah. So if that's the case, you just became the ultimate villain. Like, if you view it that way, then it was genius. But you just didn't, the show didn't give us that. Yeah.
That's
nothing.
Us placing it, like coming to that conclusion. It would have been cool.
It would have been amazing if they did that.
Technically the bad guy wins.
Yeah.
But that's just us trying to make it better for ourselves.
Exactly. but if so the very end, with everybody in their positions, we have Sam as the Grand Maester, right? I mean, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, Brienne, as she went from becoming a knight for the first time, and now she's leading the King's Guard.
Mm-hmm. And we see her fill out Jaime Lannister's, the rest of his chapter. Which, again, I still don't understand why they hooked up.
Bron finally got compensated.
Yeah,
kind of overcompensated.
Way overcompensated. He overpeaked.
Lord of the Reach and High Garden, and he got the Master of Coin.
You know what he reminded me of? He reminded me of one of those athletes that just had an amazing contract year, cashed out and signed a mega deal, and then just bombed it immediately. Yeah. And was just awful. Like, it just seemed like he just way yeah, he was way promoted. Like Master of Coins, like is he good at accounting?
And they left it open where there's still 2 positions, so Varys' position is still not
3.
covered. Or the Master of War Whispers are still missing. But it was funny, but it was a weird scene to end on with just them chatting it up like all this stuff.
And
just
then
didn't
Tyrion
happen.
going back to that old story about the brothel. Like it's some ongoing joke from the beginning.
It was kind of anticlimactic, but it was a funny scene. But I mean, that's where we ended up.
Yeah, that's
for
where
the
we
whole
ended
series.
up. Any final thoughts on Game of Thrones, the finale, and just the overall series?
I'd say overall, even though we had our frustrations, and a lot of us did, with the pacing, the writing, and all that stuff, we still have to reflect and still say this was still a great show. Overall, the quality was still good. Like, I don't want to knock it to the point where it was a disaster. Like, no, there was still good moments in the final season. So overall, don't lose sight of that. We still had a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I highly enjoyed it. I think overall it was a great show, but what stopped it from being completely amazing was that by shortening the seasons, it came out as rushed at the end, and they missed a lot of opportunities to make it amazing.
Yeah, they really did. It should have been longer, but hey, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Now we're on to Star Wars, and hopefully the hate from this is not going to trickle on down to the Star Wars that these guys are going to be doing. But anyway, guys, that I think it's time to wrap up our Game of Thrones discussion. If you guys are listening to us on SoundCloud and Spotify, why don't you guys go over to our YouTube channel? You can see our short films, our movie reviews, our Game of Thrones reactions, and you can also reach us on Twitter at 2HighMcFly Productions. Same thing on Instagram at 2HighMcFly Productions. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you thought of Game of Thrones and if we're overreacting. And then until next time, I'm Kevin Lyons.
I'm Dan the Sangre.
I'm Jose Ramos.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Drakkar.